Okay, let's get started. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to those of you who are on time for our time management event. We are really excited to have Aastha here. And so I'm going to do a brief introduction and then I'm going to turn it over to her. Please note this event is being recorded. My name is Devika Prasad. I am a general director for SABA DC. And thank you on behalf of the South Asian Bar Association of North America and 3 SABA chapters, DC, New York, and Southern California, for joining us today. Aastha Madaan Farr is the creator and founder of Desi Planner. She is also Associate General Counsel at Scan Health Plan. She created and developed the Desi Planner while maintaining her law practice, and I think that goes to show that whatever she is doing is working. I have to say that I've been using the Desi Planner for 3 years. It's always on my desk, and I'm loving this year's bright, cheerful colors for 2023. I actually never thought I would use a physical planner because I am all about efficiency, and I thought my Google Calendar was sufficient. But it turns out that the extra time that I spend actually mapping out my days and weeks and months and my entire year really helps me manage my time better and feel more in control. So Aastha is here to share her tips on time management and her perspective on productivity culture. We're very happy to have her. So without further ado, I will give you Aastha.
Thank you so much, Devika. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks to everyone that joined, and special thanks to SABA DC, New York, and SoCal for sponsoring or co-sponsoring the event. I am going to get started. Let me share my screen. Okay. Let's see. Can you see? I just did this and then, okay, is this good? Is this working like what's supposed to? Okay, good. It's like, I just did this. All right. So, like Devika said, I'm Aastha Madaan Farr. I created the Desi Planner. I also always have it on my desk. I'm really excited to share my tips with all of you and things that I have learned in the process of creating the planner over the last 4 years. And besides, beyond that, you know, being an obsessive planner of everything for the last decade plus. So today's agenda, we're going to cover some mindset foundations first. We're going to cover how to get started in and becoming a better manager of our time, how to keep track of your unproductive time. And I say unproductive because we'll talk about why I'm doing that in quotes. Then addressing that unproductive time. And I'd like to do a specific focus on the difference between goals, tasks, projects, and events, which I think a lot of us conflate with one another. And then my top tips for accomplishing daily tasks, which I think is the biggest struggle, at least for me. On a day-to-day basis, I don't think you ever get so good at planning that you finish everything on your to-do list every day. I don't think that's a realistic expectation. But I am happy to be able to share my tips. At the end, if you all want to chime in, we'll leave some time, and I'm sure there's one tip that each of you has that you can't do without in your time management. So I'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure everyone else would too, so we can share our best tip for time management at the end. So just to kind of level set before we dive in, first things first, I think because this audience is mainly legal professionals and South Asian folk, I want to acknowledge that imposter syndrome and time management go hand in hand, because with imposter syndrome, which affects specifically a lot of women, minorities, and people in stressful jobs like the legal profession, we deal a lot with a sense of we're not doing enough, we're not making good use of our time, we could be doing more. And so that sets us up for having expectations of our time that may not be realistic. And I think that often goes hand in hand. So time management isn't just about using your time wisely, but also being kind to ourselves and making sure that the time that we do have, we are giving ourselves grace in using that. I also think that it's really important to set realistic expectations for yourself and for those around you. So if we have 21 things on our to-do list every Monday, and you know that that is not a record that you are able to meet, that letting people know when you're going to be able to do that, or that you'll give them an update once you expect when you'll be able to get something completed or get started on something. And then doing the same for yourself, not thinking that you're not kind of overwhelming yourself with a long to-do list every day and then being disappointed in yourself at the end of the day. So I think setting those realistic expectations is probably one of the most important things that we can do to be a successful manager of our time. Like I mentioned, giving yourself grace and understanding that time management, like any other habit, takes time. We always fall off the wagon, which a weird phrase, but there's never going to be really a fluid or continuous amount of time that you stick to the same routine every single day. That is not humanly possible. And I think that it's important to just know that when circumstances are not in our control, we do what we can, we manage during that time, and then just get back to it when we're able to. And then, like I said, overwhelming ourselves with too much, that's an issue that I've seen. I do this all the time, where a new tool comes out or a new app comes out, and I'm so excited to try it, and I try all of them all at once, and then none of them work because I'm not focusing on one thing, or I'm not focusing on what I could be doing best. So finding of the tools and techniques we talk about today, you may have heard of some of them, so I don't think anything today is really going to be groundbreaking or completely new. It's just hopefully presented in a format that motivates you and that helps you sort of figure out what you would like to take away from today. But finding out one or two techniques that work from you from today's session, and just incorporate those slowly and then move on to the next thing. The other thing I want to mention, I think this comes specifically from being a South Asian, from being a minority, or being from that immigrant population. Productivity is a thing that you do. It is not a moral compass. It is not who you are. I know most of our parents came with a few dollars in their pockets and nothing but their grit to this country, and they succeeded on hard work and productivity and time management and all those things. But we have a different privilege, we have a different life, and understanding that if you take breaks to relax and have hobbies and enjoy your life, that is not a bad thing, and that is a part of how you manage your time and how you manage your life. So with those mindset foundations, let's dive into how to get started. So I would say, like I said, later on, we're going to discuss some tools and techniques. Oh, by the way, before I go any further, I think I can see your questions too. So if anyone has questions or anything in between that you'd like me to address or want to share, feel free to do that. I have the question box open here. So once we are done with today, and if you so feel and you want to move forward and incorporate some changes in your life or start incorporating some of those things, I would say spend the next few days just keeping track of your habits and what you are doing in your unproductive time, or time that you don't feel good about after you're done spending it. So if that means that you spend 30 minutes on social media, and at the end of the day when you're going to sleep you always say, I shouldn't have done that, figure out what those triggers are that make you feel not so good about the time you spend, or how you spent it, or things you should have said no to that day, or things that meetings you sat in and left feeling like you didn't contribute anything, you didn't learn anything, and you didn't need to be there, right? So what are those triggers for you that don't make you feel good and don't further your day-to-day tasks and day-to-day goals that you have? Remember that each day starts before the actual day starts, and that is I'm not going to get like deep into this, because we share this constantly on the Daisy Planner social media and on Instagram. But a couple of things you can do for every day to make sure that the day starts off well. And we'll talk about how to do that. But simple things like making sure that you've set up your breakfast or even mentally decided what you're going to have for breakfast. You set out whatever your morning beverage is and done the preparation for that, and made your to-do list for the following day. And then the other really important thing we're going to cover today is, recognizing the difference between the things that we do and that we're committed to every day and what they mean for how we spend our time, and then using and eliminating unexpected interruptions. So keeping track of that unproductive time that we just talked about. I think we all keep track of our productive time, right? Because of the profession that we're in. When we accomplish something or when we complete a task. I do transactional work. So for me, if I spend, 30 minutes redlining an agreement, or if I, talk with outside counsel and get an answer from my clients internally, that to me is productive time. But sometimes I do other things that, take away from getting me where I need to go. That means I've spent the whole day sitting in on meetings, and by the end of the day, now I need to spend another 3-4 hours actually doing the work and getting to where I need to go in order to be successful at what I've committed, right? Like doing my job. So that for me, like I said, the most important thing anytime I'm restarting the time management journey is to keep track, whether it's mentally or in writing, of the time that I'm not productive. So and this is specific to days on which it's 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and I go and I look at my to-do list and I have maybe crossed off 1 or 2 things. I don't feel good about them. And then I feel the pressure to spend the rest of my evening actually doing the work to take back some of the to-do list so it doesn't spill into the next day. So I would do that for the next few days and see where those gaps are. Some of the things that I've noticed for myself and that I'm sharing with you are, and if you want to put in your chat what the obstacles are in your days, I'd love to hear those too. For me, it's that I have my email often open and the notification pops up in Outlook for my work, and my instinct is, if it's a quick question, or this is just a 30-second question, I'm going to respond to it today, I'm going to respond to it right away. It sort of starts cascading into, now I have my inbox open and there are 5 questions I can respond to right away that'll only take me, 5-10 minutes each. And before I know it, that means either a whole half hour or an entire hour of my day is gone and has derailed me. So if you have any of those, please share so that each of us can get an idea of what those obstacles can be, because I think we don't always recognize them as obstacles because technically it's a part of our job, right? The other thing for me is when I'm trying to focus on something, I have my Apple Watch here. I swipe up and turn off notifications and the beeping every time it goes off when I'm either getting a text message or the ring from doorbell, right? From when people are just passing in front of your house. Unscheduled phone calls, same for me, because we are on Teams all day long for our work and people will just call you and there goes 30 minutes of your time. There's a really good tip about inbox management in the chat. So if any of you are looking at the chat, you should do that. The other one for me is I'm a chronic multitasker. It is really hard for me to focus on one thing at a time. It makes me feel like I'm not doing enough if I'm just doing one thing. And that's a mindset shift that I need to make, but maybe some of you need to make it too. So I share that. And then the other thing that I noticed that a lot of people do, especially since I've created the Daisy Planner and now I have regular conversations about time management with people, a lot of people used to, or still do, keep their entire to-do list on a set of several post-it notes scattered on their desk or even on their planner, or notes that they enter into on their iPhone, or 5 or 6 to-do lists that they are maintaining at the same time. I thought some really good tips in the chat. You don't take texts, and tell those who want to reach you not to text you because you have other things to do, and respond to the pings from cell phones, which, it's so easy to just pick up our phone to check one text, but everything is in the palm of your hand, and then you get derailed by the entire, for the next several minutes, sometimes half an hour. I love the tips you all are putting in the chat. Please read them as you're listening to me. I'm telling you to multitask, so I've clearly already done what I am not supposed to do, but like I suspected, all of you have some really good tips that you're sharing, so I think it'll be beneficial to everyone to read them. So I think, what is productive time? This is a big mindset shift. And I think for me, it is unlearning a lot of what my family and parents taught me. I don't think growing up, very few of us were actually told that we should relax, that we should take breaks, that we should, appreciate the downtime that we have. We didn't see our parents doing that. We didn't see our family members doing it. We saw our older cousins, our aunts and uncles just working. If they weren't working, they were with family, which to many of us is also a task, right? So we are not programmed to think of downtime as productive time. And that is a big mindset shift that I think all of us can do and make and benefit from, because it helps you shift what you think of as time management. So it's not just managing the time that you're at work, but it's also making sure that you build in that time where you need to recharge and rest and just sort of be connected to yourself. So when I talk about unproductive time and noticing that, I'm specifically saying, notice what does not give you pleasure. If going on social media makes you feel good, that is not unproductive time. If you're doing it too much where it's hindering your life, then you can learn how to reduce that a little bit. And we'll talk about that, about some tips to focus in a few minutes. But I think that big mindset shift comes from making sure that you build those things. We are all going to go on social media. We are all going to binge watch TV at some point or another. We are going to watch reality TV. We are going to spend hours texting our friends on group chat or checking text messages during the day. Those are things that are going to happen. But if the mindset shift is making sure you recognize that and build time for that, so it's not unexpected and it doesn't take away from how you've mapped out your day. Include that time in the way you're mapping your day so that you don't feel bad at the end of it. So I have some tips here for unproductive tasks, which is, closing out emails when you're working on a task, time blocking, task batching. We're going to talk about time blocking and task batching in a little bit. And if that's not feasible to sort of close out your email, because that is literally a part of many of our jobs, right? As lawyers, that is what we do, is respond to emails, and that's where our value comes from for clients. Then, see if you can do task batching. And turning off notifications on your phone during your focus time doesn't mean all day long, just when you've set aside time to complete a couple of tasks. Checking your phone can be a reward at the end. So you do time blocking for 2 hours and then build in 15 minutes to scroll through your phone, go to the restroom, take a break, scroll through your phone, right? So making sure that those things are incorporated so they don't derail your day, they become a part of it. If you're going to do them anyway, make sure that you plan for them, right? Getting used to time blocking and task batching, which I've combined those two here, but get used to that as your new normal and honestly, that is the biggest thing that has helped me. And I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about it in a few minutes, but time blocking and task batching has been the biggest tool in my belt for the last few years, especially as a new mom to an 8-month-old. Making sure that I make good use of the time that I do have is a game changer. Then, like I said, for the unproductive tasks, have conversations. If your family group chat is going off all day long, let them know, hey, I'm going to have my do not disturb on starting like Monday for when I am not going to be responding to texts immediately. Don't panic, don't freak out, because I'm usually an immediate responder. I'm just trying something new here, right? So letting people know so that they're not surprised, or, you know, you don't have to have many conversations about why you're changing your habits. This may come from me being also a chronic people pleaser. So if you don't need to have conversations, don't have conversations. But I find that many of us are, like me, people pleasers and don't want people to, you know, overthink why we're not responding or we are responding. I'm going to take a quick break here and share some of the things that are in the chat. So some of the tips here: turning on do not disturb on your iPhone or work phone for time blocks each day is a really good tip. Super easy to do. You just sort of scroll down on your phone and put that do not disturb on with the little moon sign. Reduces power battery anxiety. Yep, absolutely. Auto refresh notifications for your emails for a cell phone, definitely a good one. I used to have Instagram notifications on for some of my favorite people to follow or accounts to follow, and that would derail me all the time, because once you open one thing, then it sucks you in. And that's super helpful to turn those off. Unscheduled phone calls, like I said, that, you know, some of us don't have the luxury of turning down unscheduled phone calls, so I totally get that too. But if you don't have that, if that's a part of your day-to-day job, and you spend the next 2 to 3 business days sort of figuring out how long those unscheduled phone calls take, build time in for that. Leave like an hour or two of flex time or however you need, and have that as one of your category time block, so that you don't feel behind and you haven't from your day if unscheduled phone calls are part of your day. I know when I reach out to outside counsel as an in-house counsel, them to me within the next 48 hours, and that not culture always, but I think it helps to know that you're going to get that. So there's a unproductive time as we go back to work. Oh yeah, there was a question in there about unproductive time as we go back to work. So much of your time is eaten up with chatting, reconnecting with colleagues, which is the point of being at work, but results in actual delay in billable works. I think when you know you're expecting that, the best thing that you can do in anything, right, like anything in life, is just kind of prepare for it and know that that day you are not going to get more work done, or the amount of work done that you have expected to get done. So that day, if you end up having to work in the evening, which is the reality for many of us, keep your evening available. Don't make plans that evening, and understand that and go in with that expectation. Or if there are things you can task batch the day before or the day after, do that. Be more of have more of a control on your schedule the day before and the day after, if there are some days when you have to go into the office. But if anyone else has any suggestions on what to do with unproductive time as we go back to work, with water cooler talk and whatnot, please feel free to drop those in the chat and share with everyone. All right, so I think this is probably one of the most important things that I talk about when I talk about time management. We tend to conflate some of these, so I'm going to spend some time on this. If you've heard it before, sorry I'm spending so much time on it, but I think it's important to keep this in mind as you go forward and figure out how you're spending your day. So there are 4 things that I think get conflated together in this realm of time management, and people that are obsessed about time management like I am. We talk about this a lot. So tasks are how you spend your time day to day. Goals are the results that you seek. So that's big picture. Projects are how those goals come about. So their projects are kind of like broken down goals and get you to your goal. And events are specific, time-specific things that further or don't further, forgot a word there, don't further your goals. So for example, if your big goal, the big picture, is becoming the chair of a committee at work, or your big picture is to apply for a fellowship program in the next year or so, that's going to be the types of things that you, for example, put on a vision board. That's where I want to get to. Some personal goals for, are going to be, you want to buy a house or buy an investment property in the next, whatever that duration is, however long it's going to take, a year, 2 years, whatever you've set for yourself. That's not a thing you're going to be able to accomplish tomorrow. That's not a thing that's going to go on your day-to-day think bigger, governor, judge. Yeah. So that's not something you're going to accomplish immediately. Those are things that you are going to be working on slowly, steadily, and putting together strategies and plans for. Projects. So if I'm using this as an example, if you want to become a chair of a committee at work, that's going to take you maybe a few days, mostly a few months, few years. So there are a couple of projects that will get you closer to that, showing your commitment to that committee, serving as a member for a while, a few weeks, few years, few months, writing, volunteering, getting your name out there. Then once you have those projects in mind, then come the tasks. The tasks are what go in your planner. That's what goes when you're writing stuff down. So that's, for example, writing an article or, volunteering to mentor someone. That's a task that you're going to set aside time to mentor that person. You're going to set aside time to write that article. Tasks are what take a few hours, maybe a few hours over the course of a few days, but a few hours total. And events are time-restricted events, time-restricted commitments that you have, attending happy hour or a meeting. Devika was talking about that, doing that on a digital planner when she did the introduction, right? These are those things that you put on your digital planner. So I'm still focusing on those, but now I'm talking about tools here. So if your goal is to become a chair of a committee at work, you write that. That's going to be, like I had mentioned, anywhere from a few days, few months, few years. In the Daisy Planner specifically, we have a page where you can write your personal goals, your professional goals. So for every month, for me, it helps me to visualize my goals every month and sort of remind myself of what those goals are. And just so I don't get daunted, we also have gratitude and self-care thoughts and health and wellness thoughts, right? But if you don't have a planner that has that, I would take a sticky note or something else, just a sheet of paper, put some washi tape, put it on the beginning of every month, and just sort of reset that. Is this still my goal? Is it still my goal to be the chair of this committee? Have that conversation with yourself periodically. If not every month, have it every quarter. But sort of check in with your goals and make sure that your projects that you've taken on are furthering the goal. If your projects are not furthering the goal, reassess either your goals or your projects, right? So the project would be to serve as a member, write an article. What are so the tools for your goals, setting your goals, is going to be either that goals page like I showed you at the beginning of every month. It's going to be a vision board. If you've been to a vision boarding party, That's where you set your goal, you set your intentions personally for your health and wellness, for your work, for your finances. A 5-year plan. Different people do it different ways, but those are some ways to do it. I prefer checking in with my goals more often than like a vision board or 5-year plan. So I check in with my goals every month. And I think that's really helpful for me to sort of reset and reassess where I'm spending my time on the projects. For projects specifically, the tools that I use Trello almost on a daily basis. It helps me separate out, like, I'm in-house, so I support several departments. So I have boards, lists for each department. So this is what I need to do for my IT folks. This is what I need to do for my privacy folks. And these are all the tasks that are in there. And they together, all those little tasks make up the big project. So Google Keep, project, paper notepads are all ways in which you can keep track of your project. Tasks are your day-to-day things. Those are the small little things that you do every day. So today I have to redline a contract, or do that, like that kind of little, kind of not a week-long commitment, but sort of the thing that's going to further the week-long commitment. So for my daily tasks, I use my planner. I write my tasks here. I'm kind of sharing one that doesn't have any confidential stuff on it, but you write your tasks on your planner, and or any print planner, any to-do list, any Trello, like I mentioned, was one. If you have a notepad with, I don't know if you can see this, with like check boxes where you can check off things that you're doing on a daily basis. If you're not a planner person, use a notepad, right? And the techniques we're going to talk about in a few minutes. I'm going to give myself about 10 more minutes to talk or less, so that we have time for questions and to hear all of your great suggestions. And by the way, if you have any suggestions of tools to use for keeping track of tasks that I haven't listed here, please feel free to drop them. I don't know everything. I'd love to hear what everyone else is doing. What do you use to keep track of your daily tasks? And any other project management type tools that are free or low cost, please feel free to share them in the chat. I'd love to hear them. The techniques specifically for tasks, I think, are time blocking and task batching, which I'm super, super passionate about. So we'll talk about them in a minute. And then events are what you need to either coordinate with other people on your calendar, or you need to block time and show up and sort of focus on. And that's going to be mainly on your Google Calendar, on your iCal, on your Outlook calendar, or shared digital calendar. I find that I am constantly sort of shifting between shared calendars. I have one for my work, one for my team at work, one like bigger one that everyone in the company has available, and then they can put time on my calendar because that's how my company's culture is. And then I have a shared calendar with my partner where we put events and also share with each other when we can't commit the family to doing stuff, things like that. So I find myself moving in between calendars as I move in between events during the working hours and past working hours. And I think that's probably the same for almost all of you, whether it's with your family, with your friends, or through work. Right. So goals page, I already showed you, but this is sort of a spotlight on the goals page, so that if you are interested in emulating this, I highly suggest whatever planner you have. And if you don't have a planner, create this sort of grid for yourself on just a blank piece of paper. Write your gratitude on top, professional goals, personal goals, self-care thoughts, something positive when you're giving yourself tasks to do or big things to think about and strategize about. Copy this and check in with yourself and do this for yourself every quarter or every month, whatever cadence works best for you. But I think that this is one of the best things that I do for myself, because it helps me eliminate unnecessary things that are not furthering my goals in, that month, that week, whatever it may be. Use a desktop, not a phone, to do work, and don't respond to text immediately. That's a good one. I think everyone in my life knows I respond to text at certain intervals, because they'll get a bunch of texts from me between like 5:30 and 6 p.m. and then I'll disappear for a few hours, and then also come back at 9 p.m. Pacific to 9:30 Pacific, and then disappear until the next morning. So I think people in my life have gotten used to it now, but it was not as hard of a transition as I thought it would be to do that, to sort of tamp back on how quickly I was responding to text messages. So that was my goals page. All right, we'll go into 10. It's actually 11 tips for accomplishing daily tasks, but 10 super important ones that I think helped me a lot. I've been using planners since my early teens, when I used to go to Borders bookstore and like 3 weeks after school started to get my discounted $5 planner. And so since then, I've been using planners. Back then, none of the holidays that were important to me, like I celebrate Diwali, Holi, Navratri, things like that, they were not in the planner. So I would spend the first few days just sort of making sure that everything that was important to me was reflected in the planner. And so get a planner that reflects who you are, that you're going to feel good about using. And that is a reminder to you every day that this is who you are, that it's not going to be these planners that, if it works for you to have a planner that has like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., 8 a.m. breakdown of time, that's great. For me, that's a great way to guilt myself into thinking that I'm not doing enough. So I don't have that type of planner. The planner I have is more free form, where I can write things every day. So get yourself a daily planner that's going to be working well for you and for your mindset that you want to be in. I think it's really great to have a continuous snapshot of what you're doing that day. The second thing is make a task list in your planner. Look, the honest truth is most of us do 20 to 30 things a day, whether that's or more. Responding to emails, most of us live, whether we work at law firms or not, we live our life in 15, 20-minute increments. I think I get about 150 emails every day, and I respond to a good half of them. Whether it's just to say that I am going to get back to you in the next few days, but that means when I'm doing that, I have to transfer that task somewhere, right? If I'm telling someone I'm going to get back to them, I have to remind myself that I have to get back to them. So I'll let them know that, let me look into this. Do I need to do research? If that's the case, I write that on my to-do list. If my to-do list is full for the next 2 days, I'll write that on the third day. Do I need to reach out to someone to get an answer? Okay, draft an email, forward an email, put that on my to-do list. So write your top 5 to 8 things every day, understanding that you're going to do more than that, and some days you're going to do less than that. But those are the 5 to 8 things that you absolutely must get done, whether those are deadlines, self-imposed by a client, by your supervisor, whatever it is. Cross off the tasks that you do complete. I think crossing off things from my to-do list is the most accomplished I feel throughout the day. So I'm a big proponent of crossing things off your to-do list. And update your list the day before. So if you have 5 to 8 things that you had to get done that week, and you're trying to get them done on Monday, but they didn't get done on Monday, 3 of them got done on Monday, before you close your laptop for the day, transfer them from Monday to Tuesday. Whatever you didn't get done, whatever you didn't cross off, transfer from the day before to the next day, so that those are now on the top of your priority list for the following day. And I think besides, getting your clothes ready for the next day, getting your coffee ready for the next day, and not kind of thinking about what you're going to have for breakfast, I think that is the transferring your to-do list to the following day is one of the best things that I do, or that at least I do for myself, and I think everyone can benefit from. Time blocking. Is anyone doing time blocking right now? I'd love to hear from, I think almost everyone that's participating today are people that love time management or are interested in it. So if you do practice time blocking, please put that in the chat. Yes, I do. And what do you block time for? Do you block it for personal stuff? Do you block it for work stuff? Yes, I love to see that. So many of you are blocking your time. That's amazing. And someone shared a link for an app for time blocking. Perfect. So time blocking is the practice of blocking time on your calendar for activities based on your priority and your availability. I think blocking a few hours for work to get things done that need our full focus is really, really important, right? We all know that. We all either have billable hours or we have things that we need to get done that are deliverables to our clients. What I encourage you to do is have blocks of time that are unaccounted for. So if you have 2 hours of meetings and you need 4 hours to 6 hours of billable time, that's a full day of work, right? Most of us, I would venture to guess, work more than 8 hours a day. I would say block time in your calendar for those unexpected phone calls, if that's what your work life is like. Block time on your calendar for office chit chat. You don't have to do it during those hours, right? Like, you're just making sure that you have set aside specific realistic goals for yourself, that this is how many hours of work you're going to get done. And that if it's completely non-negotiable that you spend time on social media, that you go for yoga, you go for a walk, put that on your calendar so that it is a priority, that it's not out of sight, out of mind, or that you feel bad because you didn't accommodate that in your calendar when you were time blocking. So I think time block the things that are priorities, and that goes for personal time, downtime, unproductive time, things that you need to do that that you can't get out of, but don't necessarily further your day. If it's going to happen, put it on your time block, right? Block time for the gym and don't go. Yeah, that happens to a lot of us too. So absolutely. It is so important to block your time for personal and for work stuff. I have been trying to practice time blocking for the weekend too, where I know that if I need to sleep in one day or if I need to go to bed early one day, like I will put like rest day in that block, so that when my friends contact me and I'm thinking, yeah, I really want to see my friends, I really want to go to brunch, but this is important to me to have some downtime or whatever it is, that don't commit myself, don't overcommit myself. I know what I need to do. And it's a good reminder to just focus on the things that are priorities. I love that so many of you are time blocking. That makes me feel really great. Task batching. So this goes kind of hand in hand with time blocking. Task batching is when you put things together that will take your time. So to me, like I said, when I spend, between 30 minutes, 20 minutes, between 5 and 6 every day, however long it's going to be, I spend responding to text messages that I got during the workday that I didn't get to. That's one type of task. That's responding to several text messages to different people, but I'm doing it all together. So I pick up my phone one time and I don't have to pick up my phone over and over again. So I'm focusing on that. And that's an important part of my life. So I'm not going to make myself feel bad about it. And I just know that that's what I'm going to do every day. Responding to emails. I think someone earlier had said they respond to emails 3 times a day. That's not all of our reality. So we can't always just respond to emails 3 times a day. Some of us are expected by our jobs to be on email all day long. And that's where we have some of our billable hours or our deliverables. So if email is not a place you can task batch because you're on email all day long, task batch other stuff. Do your admin stuff, put in your hours together, task batch your personal development, task batch your meetings. So you can say, okay, I'm gonna leave these 4 hours or 3 hours during the day for people to put stuff on my calendar, and the rest of the time I'm blocking, right? So you can task batch that. For me, like I said, I do transactional work. I usually have to get a couple of red lines out every day. So I task batch those. I will open 5 or 6 documents, close out my email, and just focus on the documents and then send them all out when I'm done with redlining for, like, if that's an hour or 2 hours of my time. In between, sometimes I do check my email. I'll open it, respond, close it back down. But that helps me to make sure that if those items are on my list of things to do, that I get them done. I'm not doing like redlining a contract at 8 o'clock and then doing emails for an hour, coming back to another contract. Getting in the flow, getting in the zone, that's another word for task batching, right? It helps you be more efficient. You spend less energy because your brain isn't shifting from email to redlining to drafting to meetings to phone calls to legal research, and then back and forth. So you don't yo-yo as much, and your brain spends less energy when you're task batching. And you become super efficient at it within a few weeks, I found. So within like 2 weeks, you get good at it, and you spend a lot less time. Does anyone have questions about task batching or any suggestions? Please feel free to share with everyone in the chat. Do you suggest task batching based on substance, contract, task block, or form? Or is it seems from email to do both? How do you prevent getting confused between the different deliverables if you're breaking up the redlining versus sending? Yeah, I think that, it sounds like you are at a law firm where those tasks are connected. My life is a little bit different, where I'm in-house, so those sending and, drafting are not necessarily connected. I think if you're doing something like that and it's important to you to have keep track of that, I would, to reduce distractions, I would keep track of it. So if you have a program where you're entering your time, you can either enter straight into the program, or wherever you're writing your to-do list, right next to the to-do list how much time you spend. So if I have like client A, like work for client A, work for client B, I would, as soon as I'm done with that work, I would write next to it how much time I spent on that work. And when I'm emailing it, just add that time and then enter it at the time that I'm emailing it. I hope that helps. But I think it depends on like how much you want your brain to yo-yo. To me, emails all are mainly, when I go to emails, I have things that I need to add to my to-do lists. So my emails are broken down into 2 categories. They're either things that I need to respond to immediately that I know the answer to, or deliverables, right? So I would say breaking it down versus substance or form is going to depend on what you're doing. What I do is if I know there are some emails I need to have deliverables for, those will go into my to-do list for the next few days. And when I'm checking my emails and I can immediately respond to some emails, I will immediately respond to them. And that becomes a part of task batching. I hope that helps, but I think that it depends on, what your work flow is and where you're spending your time and how your like work setting is. Law firm, in-house, government, military. So it depends on that, right? Resetting, there's a question about resetting after falling behind and or after procrastinating. I think that's a really good question, because this happens to me, and this is the second time I brought it up, but it happens to me because I'm still 8 months in getting used to being a new mom, and understanding that my time is not my own anymore and things happen that are completely outside of our control, right? So I noticed that when I fall behind, my instinct is I'm going to knock it out. Like I'm going to sit there and just like go through my work and finish it all in one day. I found that what that does is that I start doing too much and not really taking the time to meet my life where it is. So instead, like I said, if I'm falling behind, now what I do that works really well is take a day or two to start segregating my work, to start making those lists. I will probably every 3 weeks I fall behind and feel like my time is out of my control. So in that time, what I do is I'll take a notepad, right? I will start, and often when this happens, it's not just work. I'll start feeling like I'm behind on life stuff, on friend stuff, on my basic planner stuff and work stuff. So what I do is I do some. Has anyone heard of a brain dump, where you kind of sit down, take 15 minutes and your favorite beverage, evening, morning, weekend, whenever you have time and a clear mind. And if you don't have a clear mind, you can totally sit down with a panic mind if that's where you are in that time of your life. But write down every single thing that's coming to your mind. Once you've done with that, go through your email, write down every single thing that you're supposed to do that is in your emails. Once you've done that, and that's a mishmash of things, personal life, people you were supposed to contact, plans you were supposed to make, things you were supposed to do for Saba or for your other organizations, and things you were supposed to do for work, all that mishmash. So take that, tear that apart, and then start making blocks of lists. One side, you're going to write down everything you're supposed to do for your organizations you volunteer for, everything you're supposed to do for your life stuff, everything you're supposed to do for work. All that stuff, once you've fallen behind, you're not going to be able to do it in one day. If you are, kudos, I can't. So I give myself a week or two to catch up after I've fallen behind, and in order to get back into a groove. All the tasks that I've written out are going to go in my planner over the course of 2 weeks. I'm not going to try to reset in one day after. Deadlines, of course, we have to do what we have to do. Clients need stuff, get that done. But for all the other stuff, it's going to be spread out 1 or 2 tasks a day over the course of a week or two. And then at the end of that, hopefully when I've been able to catch up, then I can continue with the routine and continue with my time blocking and task bashing as usual. I hope that helps, but if anyone else has suggestions on how to reset, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and I'd love to hear them too. All right. I didn't leave enough time, so I'll go through these really quickly. So the next couple of things are, I think I've talked a lot about this, setting expectations. Things pop up during our day. They will derail your schedule. That is just a part of how life is. Understand that going into time management, that it's not possible to be perfect at time management. If anyone else tells you that it is, they are not being honest with you, and you should create your own realistic expectations. I am a big believer in tidying up your workspace when you start working. I hope that, that's not true for everyone, but it is for me. And it helps me sort of have one less thing to focus on. If I take 5 minutes to clear my desk, even if it's like gathering everything and putting it to the side and not filing immediately, I still want to clear my workspace so I can focus. Creating shortcuts. This is a pretty good one that a former colleague of mine used to do that I've totally adopted. Is in Outlook, there's where you have your signature tab. Some people have access to templates. If you don't have access to templates, you can use your signature block to create 6 or 7 templates where they just say, hello, I've received your request for blank. I'll get back to you. Please know that I'm working on it. I will get back to you in blank. Thank you. You just do one click, fill in the 2 things and send it out so that people are updated. I think all of us know that the majority of malpractice complaints are actually from lack of communication to clients in legal practice and not from things that you've done wrong, right? So for me, that's a priority to kind of let people kind of keep people updated. So I have a couple of different templates that I use to respond to emails. So, and that's what I'm talking about when you're task batching and you're in your flow. You transfer something on your to-do list, and at the same time, let that person know that it's on your radar, right? So creating shortcuts like that, I think, help a lot. Thank you. I'm glad you're finding it helpful. Any other shortcuts anyone else has? Any other work hacks, life hacks? Drop them, share them with the other people on here, because I'm loving what's going on in the chat. So please share your favorite shortcuts with each other. Delegate work. I don't know why I wrote works. Delegate work you don't need to do. Most of us are thankfully in positions where we can ask for help. And even though we're not often very good at asking for help, try your best where you can. Outsource your laundry, outsource tasks you don't want to do. Sudshare.com is a website where they'll pick up your laundry and drop it back off to you, right? So delegate work you don't want to do, that you don't look forward to, and that you don't feel good at the end of, right? Oh yeah, that's great. Task function on Outlook. You can assign tasks to certain days. Yes, absolutely. There's also a follow-up button in Outlook that'll give you a pop-up for when you're supposed to follow up with someone. So you can mark that email to follow up, and it'll like pop up a little reminder. So delegate work you don't want to do that doesn't make you feel good. That's what I say when I'm saying unproductive work. You have to do it, but you don't feel good about it, and it needs to get done. Do you have to do it personally? Maybe not. Maybe you can task rabbit some of those stuff. Maybe you can, outsource, delegate some of it. For software folks likes to use to help manage their calendar and block time based on how long a project should take. I don't know about time blocking software. There's like Pomodoro type stuff where you can time yourself when you're doing tasks. But for managing projects, I personally like Trello. The free version is pretty good, or there's also the paid version, and that's more for project management, not so much time blocking. I don't know a lot of time blocking software, but if anyone knows the answer to Navdeep's question, please put it in the chat. Build in time for yourself, including breaks. I know I've said this 5 times, but I think we have just all grown up seeing people around us work from, dawn to dusk and doing things for others. And it is so hard to build that time in for yourself. We are so lucky that we even have the awareness to do this, but if you don't already do it, use me and use this time as a reminder that blocking time for yourself for things that you enjoy or things that you want to do is just as important as any other thing that makes you feel productive. And then understand that you can make all the plans in the world, but life happens and we will get derailed, and there's just no other way around it. I think that's pretty much all my tips. I am also at time now, but if you have any other questions and want to stay for a little bit, feel free. I'll stop talking. And if you have time to visit the Daisy Planner website or follow it on Instagram, I would really appreciate it. It's just Daisy Planner on Instagram. And thank you so much for joining us. And thank you again to Devika and Saba for the opportunity to share today. And this is an awesome audience. I've learned so much just sitting here and reading the chat today. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that was a really engaged audience, I have to say. Thank you, Aastha, for being here, all these helpful tips. And motivating us to try to figure out better ways to manage our time. If anyone wants to stick around and ask questions, feel free.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hey, Aastha, I just want to say thank you for a great discussion. I'm already like time blocking on my calendar, which I never did before and I didn't know, so I'm like doing it. I just want to say, I have the Daisy Planner. I never use it because it's so pretty. And I'm one who like writes lists and then scratches stuff and moves things.
Yeah.
But it's so pretty. It's
Aw.
like, I haven't like touched it because of that.
Oh, that's nice. I love that you have that. And yeah, I feel you. So here's a little trick. Do you know what washi tape is? It's like paper tape that comes off super easy. Okay. So washi tape is like this. Sorry, I've disappeared, but I'm back. Okay. It's this like paper kind of tape. You can tape a page on top and washi tape comes right off without actually tearing your page. So if you don't want to like use your actual planner to cross stuff out, you can stick your to-do list on top and like fold. I know it's super bright, but you can like fold it and stuff like that, and washi tape will not tear your pages.
Perfect. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do like the long-term things that I don't have to cross out in the planner, but the short-term things, I'm going to use that trick.
Totally. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for the feedback. And yeah, thanks everyone. This was so awesome.
Thank you. This was great. I took so many notes.
Okay. All right. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out at hello@Daisy Planner. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining. And thanks again for being such an awesome audience. And thanks to Saba DC for taking the lead on this.
Awesome. Thanks, Aastha.
Thank you.
Thanks, David, for organizing. Great job.
Absolutely. Bye.